It's a new day dawning, the time is at hand, where the glory of the Lord will be revealed to every man. Open the door, open the door, open the door, and let the King of Glory in. Open the door, open the door, open the door, and let the King of Glory in.
Let the King of Glory in. Open up the door. Starts right now. So wide you have the gates. Prepare the way of the risen Lord. The Apostle John was on the island of Patmos. He was in prison for the testimony of Jesus Christ. And he heard a sound behind him. He said, behold, I looked. There was a door standing open in heaven. And I heard a voice which was like a trumpet speaking with me, saying, come up here, and I will show you the things which must take place. That's what we need, my friends. We need a heavenly perspective of the things that are going on in the world around us. The things the Word of God foretold us would come to pass. Those things which must take place. Those things which are taking place right now. That is what this broadcast is all about. Discussing the issues of the day, discerning the times in which we live from a biblical perspective and worldview. Good day, everybody. Andy White here. What you are about to hear is the fusion of heart, mind, and soul. And I want to welcome everybody from all across the fruited plain and all around the spherical globe. Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of Open Up the Doors. I am streaming live on my Open Up the Doors Facebook page, as is my habit. Go on over. If you've never gone over there, the URL is facebook.com/faithfm91.7. If you are on Facebook, you can just look up Andy White, Open Up the Doors. You'll see the live stream over there. That's facebook.com/faithfm91.7. Please like the Open Up the Doors page if you've never liked it before. If you're outside of the broadcast area, you can also listen to this via the app across the internet. If you're outside of the broadcast area, it's the only way you're going to hear it is through the app or on the internet. You can download the app at your relative app store, both for the Google platform, the Android platform, I should say, and as well the Apple platform, of course. Just look up Faith FM in Sag Harbor, and you'll find us. I will be going to the phones in the second hour. I'd love to hear from you if you'd like to be part of the broadcast today. 631-725-2069, 631-725-2069. Please share this broadcast around in your various streams, your various, your various social media platforms. It's going to be a very serious. I think all my broadcasts are serious, honestly, but it's going to be it's going to be sobering. It's going to be really sobering, and we need to get the word out regarding the things that I'm going to share in this broadcast, because the full demonic depravity of Hamas during the October 7, 2023 terrorist massacre of Israelis has finally been publicly revealed in all of its gory details for the first time. Now, of course, through the years, we've heard the stories, we've seen the videos, but this is a complete report that was put out, compiled together, which I'll get into in a moment. But this newly released report, it's 302 pages long, put out by the Civil Commission, and it details how terrorists performed unimaginable horrors upon Israeli families on that infamous day of October 7th, 2023. And Hamas terrorists, folks, it's beyond imagination, honestly. Hamas terrorists did not just execute women and men. This is in quotes from the reports, they deliberately and systematically defiled them, as the most comprehensive account of the atrocities released by the Civil Commission shows. This report came out just this past Tuesday. I read parts of it. The report is 302 pages long. Most of what I'll be quoting from you is how the UK Daily Mail framed this report. I read most of the report in the U.S. Daily Mail, UK Daily Mail. But the Daily Mail frames the report this way. The terrorists shot their eyes, their faces, and their breasts, and even targeted their most intimate parts to destroy their beauty and rob their loved ones of a final goodbye. Women were stripped, bound, stabbed, shot, and burned. They were executed both during and after rape amid an orgy of violence. Let those horrific words resonate in your spirit. An orgy of violence. And it's greatly detailed in this report. In fact, even the UK Mail reported some of the details. Heads were decapitated. Now, we've been saying this for the last, what is it now, almost 3 years? But it's been denied. It's been saying it wasn't verified, or the same people that are Holocaust deniers are also denying the evidence put in front of them. But it's out there and it's real. Heads were being decapitated, pelvic bones shattered. Even after death, sexual assault continued. A demonic depravity that is far more unimaginable than you can believe. The report goes on to say a grotesque medieval obsession with sexual organs pervaded the crime scenes at the Nova Festival and the Kibbutzim near Gaza. The Daily Mail was the first British newspaper granted access to the report. The report, by the way, is titled Silenced No More is the name of this report. And as I said, it was released this past Tuesday, May 12th. It shows it was not just women who were degraded as a deliberate tool of terror, humiliation, and control. Those words are in quotations. But men were also sexually abused and gang raped in some cases. Victims were mutilated with body parts cut off and used to create, listen to this wording, body parts were used to create depraved scenes, gleefully concocted to traumatize those who discovered them. Those taken hostage were assaulted in front of loved ones and young relatives, forced to commit sex acts on each other, an intentional, premeditated strategy of kinocide to destroy family units even after release from captivity. The whole report is 302 pages long. It only came out Tuesday. I have not read the whole report, just to be clear. What I did read was from the UK Daily Mail, and they did a very long piece on it. But the report itself has 180 pages of utterly harrowing evidence, which collates and corroborates previous testimonies, as well as revealing disturbing new accounts. The civil commission that put this report together, it's funded by various philanthropic organizations, and its archive supported by the German embassy in Israel. This report, over the last 2 years, has examined over 10,000 photographs and videos of the attack, totaling more than 1,800 hours of visual analysis. And much of that analysis, brothers and sisters, comes from the Hamas terrorists that were actually recording it themselves with their Go cams and their iPhones. Much of this footage comes from Hamas themselves. So it cannot be denied. It cannot be obfuscated. It cannot be dismissed. Testimonies, geolocation imagery, text messages, media reports, and open source intelligence have been painstakingly scrutinized. And here's an important point. Crucially, the report finds that the abuse was not isolated. It wasn't just a few rogue terrorists. It was coordinated, systematized, and given by order of the government in Gaza. Let that sink in. There was a recurring pattern of rape and gang rape, sexual torture, mutilation, targeted shooting to the face, head, and genital area, forced nudity, binding and restraint, genital burning, objects inserted into intimate areas, both male and female, post-mortem sexual humiliation. There is footage of these animals, yes, animals, demonically depraved animals, raping dead Jewish women. That's called necromancy, I believe. It's horrific. It's horrific. It boggles the mind. The sadistic, demonic depravity was widespread. When first responders got there, finding the dead and the mutilated, they found aluminum cans, grenades placed in body parts. The terrorists hoping that when these corpses, when these dead Jews were to be, taken to the hospital or to the morgue or wherever, obviously morgue, they're dead, hoping that those who found them would be blown up because they put grenades in their physical body parts. Nails, blunt objects, rods, household tools, spike-like instruments inserted into genitals and other parts of the body. I was reading what the Daily Mail printed from the report. You can read the whole report online. You got a pen? Write it down. You can read the report online at www.civilc.org. www.civilc.org. If you can stomach it, even if you can't, go and look at the report. Go and read it. At least peruse it. I'll be honest with you. The Daily Mail did a pretty good job of listing the atrocities, and it was only the tip of the iceberg. But as I was reading the Daily Mail, I had to stop reading it. I looked up at my wife as I was sitting in the chair with almost breaking out in tears. I said, Marsha, I got to stop reading this. I can't read this anymore. I was literally getting sick to my stomach. And when I started to read some stuff, she just stopped me. I don't want to hear it. Not because she doesn't want to hear it, but because you know how women can be. She knows. She said, I already know. You don't have to read it to me. I was getting sick to my stomach. The utterly hellacious, depraved acts that were committed by the Palestinians, by these Gazan Hamas terrorists, and not only Hamas, but so-called quote-unquote civilians also participated in the orgy of violence, sexual violence. Those innocent civilians. It's absolutely beyond anything you could think a human being is capable of doing. And I don't believe a human being can be capable of doing that unless they're demonically possessed and depraved. Let me tell you something. Calling it a display of demonic depravity doesn't even fully describe it because it's so simply unimaginable. And the anti-Semite, keffiyeh-wearing, pro-Palestinian Hamas huggers don't want you to hear or even know about this report, my friends. They don't want you to hear about this. They don't want you to read it. Let me give you that website again so you can go and read it. Read it for yourselves. www.civilc.org. Because it's Holocaust denial all over again in real time. A willful refusal to believe and acknowledge factual, empirical truth But they want to distract you and deflect you from the truth. So enter in the New York Times, because on the day before the scheduled release of the Civil Commission's report, which the New York Times knew was going to be released on May 12th, the Civil Commission, the organization that put this together, gave it to the New York Times to run. The New York Times refused to run it. You know what they ran instead? The New York Times, the day before the release of the Civil Commission report, dropped an unverified, uncorroborated, twisted piece of journalistic malpractice in an opinion piece written by someone named Nicholas Kristof. The article in the New York Times was titled "The Silence That Meets the Rape of Palestinians." He borrowed from the title of the report, which is a 2-year exhaustive report, corroborated, verified with evidence, which is again titled "Silence No More," and then he flipped it and tried to talk about the silence that meets the rape of Palestinians by Nicholas Kristof, May 11th, in the New York Times. It is a demonically inspired distraction and deflection. A demonically inspired attempt at a distraction that seeks to find some kind of a twisted, "yeah, but what about Israel?" moral equivalency. Kristof makes an attempt to contrast international outrage over Hamas's documented sexual assaults on October 7th, although I don't think there was really all that much international outrage, quite honestly. But he tries to state that, what about the outrage against Israel, with what he describes as a relative silence on alleged widespread Israeli sexual abuse of Palestinian detainees, men, women, and children by prison guards, soldiers, settlers, and interrogators. Those are his accusations. Those are his allegations. But he acknowledges, pin a pork chop on his belly, as my mother would say. He acknowledged there's no evidence. There's no evidence that Israeli leaders ever ordered such acts, but cites certain sources from the UN, the Euromed Human Rights Monitor, which, by the way, the Euromed Human Rights Monitor is associated with Hamas. So he goes to Hamas to get information about what Hamas is saying the IDF is doing in Israel. Yeah, that's circular reasoning right there. Claiming sexual violence has become a standard operating procedure in parts of Israel's security apparatus. Kristof claims that the Israeli guards used trained dogs to rape Palestinian prisoners. This claim has been going around social media, viral. That claim is being amplified everywhere on social media platforms. But what is the evidence of trained dogs by the IDF? What is the evidence? 2 anonymous sources, no names, no dates, no video, no forensic evidence, no documentation. Anonymous, fabricated hearsay gets amplified and goes viral on social media platforms because that's Satan's perfect design. But the documented Hamas abuse gets ignored. That's why I keep giving you the website, www.civilc.org. 302 pages of corroborated, documented footage, video footage, as I said. Folks, don't be distracted, nor allow the pro-Hamas propagandists to deflect from the real issue. Because after a 2-year independent investigation, the commission reviewed more than 10,000 photographs and video segments, as I said a moment ago, over 1,800 hours of visual material, and conducted more than 430 interviews, testimonies, and meetings with survivors, witnesses, returned hostages, experts, and families. The Civil Commission conclusion is clear. The Hamas terrorist attack was systematic. It was widespread. It was part of the terror strategy. And the release of the New York Times propaganda hit piece is purposefully meant to distract you from the Civil Commission's report, which includes video recordings that no credible person says are fake. Palestinians doing the most sadistic, grotesque things imaginable on October 7th. Like I said a moment ago, raping corpses? That is demonic depravity on steroids. Raping corpses while they are mutilating and murdering them. Lighting genitals on fire, shooting out the eyes of helpless victims, forcing husbands to watch as their wives and children are raped and murdered. And here's something that's very important. The report shows that the Palestinians did this, quote, on the orders of their elected government, with months of planning to do exactly what they did. It wasn't spontaneous. Even if, and it's a big if, even if there was an incident of abuse in the Israeli prison against prisoners, the Israelis would investigate it and prosecute it. It wasn't ordered by the government. It wasn't part of a systemization of abusing Palestinian prisoners. In fact, let me back up a little bit. That whole thing about the dogs being trained to rape. I looked this up, folks. There's absolutely no evidence of any program teaching dogs to rape people. It's completely fabricated, and yet it's being spread all over social media that the IDF trains dogs to rape Palestinian women. It's a blood libel. It is a disgusting depravity from hell. The demonically depraved cruelty is the main point. Hamas knew October 7th wasn't going to win a war or gain any territory. It was just an orgy of Jew hate and violence. The Palestinians were mass murdering child rapist terrorists who did all this and were gleeful about it. It's all on film. They made phone calls boasting to their family members. But the anti-Semitic podcasters don't want to talk about the overwhelming evidence of the legitimate and factual report. They want to distract and deflect to the unverified, uncorroborated allegations in the New York Times Israel hit piece, because truth and facts do not matter in the minds of the demonically depraved. And then you hear people say, Israel's overreacting. What do these people really think Israel was supposed to do in response to October 7th? I see pictures and condemnations of Israel posted by the pro-Hamas crowd showing pictures of the devastation in Gaza all the time. Look what the IDF has done to Gaza. Of course, they never mention the context. They never mention the why. They decry the destruction, asking why, but they really don't want to hear the answer. Why the destruction? Because Hamas built their terror tunnels under residential neighborhoods and buildings. Because Hamas stockpiled their weapons and missiles in schools and mosques. Because Hamas booby-trapped entire buildings, hoping to blow up the IDF soldiers who would enter those buildings in search of Hamas fighters or weapon stockpiles. So since the IDF couldn't enter the buildings that were booby-trapped to blow up anyway, they had to level them. That's why the destruction. So when you see these people showing you pictures of the rubble of Gaza, understand the why. But I'll say it again. Truth and facts do not matter in the minds of the demonically depraved. War is hell, people. War is hell. But it is Hamas who brought that hell upon Gaza. I'll be back with more. Stick around.
Will justice reign?
Will justice reign? One day, justice will reign when the Lord Jesus returns and he rules over the nations with the rod of iron. Welcome back. Andy White here on the radio, tearing down strongholds and penetrating the unseen powers of darkness, sending powers and principalities into frothy fits of frenzy by simply speaking the light of truth. You are listening to Open Up the Doors here on Faith FM, WEGB 90.7 and 93.3 in Napeague, and WEGQ 91.7 in Quag. So, to continue, Jewish families, this past really couple of weeks, Jewish families in Brooklyn on Monday night. Oh, yes, Monday night. That was the day that the New York Times report came out, the day before the Civil Commission's report came out. Don't tell me these things aren't timed purposefully. Jewish families in Brooklyn on Monday night were forced to watch from their homes as a mob of Muslims marched through their neighborhood chanting "Globalize the Intifada." We've talked about that numerous times over the last couple of years. For the last few weeks, pro-Hamas thugs have been storming through Brooklyn Jewish neighborhoods, and it's all on video again, all over X, all over Truth, ripping Jewish girls by their hair on the way to synagogue, attacking kids on their way to synagogue. Antisemitism has been on the rise in New York City for at least the last 4 to 5 years. But folks, it's taking on a new upsurge under the new Islamic socialist mayor, Zoran Mandami. In a video posted the other day, a man with a Hezbollah flag. Now, remind you, Hezbollah is a designated terrorist organization here in the U.S., but here was this brazen Muslim carrying a Hezbollah flag, leading, I watched the video, leading hundreds and hundreds of pro-Hamas mobs through Jewish neighborhoods in Brooklyn, shouting to, as I said a moment ago, globalize the Intifada. From the river to the sea, Israel, Palestine shall be free. Pro-Hamas mobs marching through Jewish neighborhoods. You know, back in the 50s and 60s, the Ku Klux Klan used to march through black neighborhoods, seeking to intimidate black residents and assert white supremacy. Now, anti-Semites marched through Jewish neighborhoods seeking to intimidate Jewish residents and assert anti-Jewish supremacy. It was racism then, it's racism now, it's a demonic depravity. The pro-Palestinian movement has officially become the new KKK. The keffiyehs that they wear is their uniform, like the Nazis, jackbooted Nazis. Today, the jackbooted Nazis are those wearing the keffiyeh headdress. The new swastika is the Hamas, is the Palestinian flag. And for the second time in 6 days this past weekend, pro-terror demonstrators besieged a New York City synagogue on Monday night. This time in Brooklyn's Flatbush neighborhood, in an attempt to shut down an Israeli real estate expo. Protesters affiliated with the Palestinian Assembly for Liberation, Al-Awada, in New York and New Jersey surrounded the synagogue. The synagogue was Young Israel of Midwood, where the Great Israeli Real Estate Event, an exposition, a seminar, a real estate event was being held. As I said, Hezbollah flags and a banner bearing the red inverted triangle of Hamas, which is used to designate targets, by the way, was seen in the crowd. And demonstrators repeatedly chanted, brick by brick, wall by wall, Zionism will fall. There is only one solution, Intifada revolution. That chant is straight up 1930s Germany Nazism. The final solution. Well, they're echoing it back. The one solution, Intifada revolution. That's a call to genocide, my friends. So while these hypocrites, while these demonically depraved people falsely accuse Israel of committing genocide against Gaza, no, that was a war of self-defense and retribution, especially after you read that report. Israel had every right to do what they did. Enough with the fake outrage, the fake false moral equivalencies. There is none. One sign in this march Monday night in New York City, in Brooklyn, abolish Israel. Well, I thought you people were against genocide. No, only when it's being accused against you. Someone posted on X. Now, here's someone who has diarrhea for brains. This is what their post on X that came up my news feed. Today was a good day, he wrote on his X post. Today was a good day. A lot of Jews got beat up in their own neighborhood. Pure anti-Semitic terror in New York City. Will Mayor Mondami condemn it? Well, of course not. He's in full agreement with the ideology of the Muslim agitators. He himself is on the side of the demonstrators who were protesting against this Israeli real estate company. New York City Mayor Zoran Mondami himself criticized the event being held at the synagogue, saying he was deeply opposed to the real estate expo because the real estate, what they were trying to promote the sale of land and settlements in the occupied West Bank. Yeah, that would be called Judea. During his campaign for mayor, Mondami had publicly said he wanted to dismantle the New York City Israel Economic Council and reduce official economic ties with Israel. It's been one of the few promises he's managed to keep so far. Because last week, Mondami removed the New York City Israeli Economic Agreement from the New York City website. Mondami removed the page on the New York City Economic Development Corporation, the EDC website, that highlighted economic ties between New York City and Israel. The deleted page highlighted the scale of Israeli business activity in New York City, including startup businesses, investments, and jobs. Let me tell you something, folks. If there's two things the Shia Muslim socialist mayor hates, it's billionaires and Jews. And he's trying to run both out of New York City. Billion-dollar businesses are literally fleeing New York City, which will certainly crash its economy. But socialists are economic ignoramuses anyway. So between Mondami's economic idiocy and his anti-Semitic depravity, mark my words, friends, New York City is on the road to both a total economic and moral collapse. Speaking of economic idiocy, wow. Did you hear? How many of you heard what AOC said this past week? It was it was one of those things you just do an eye roll over. On a podcast with someone I never heard of, AOC said, no one can earn $1 billion. While the brain dead podcaster was just shaking her head and smiling in agreement. AOC made this statement. I'll repeat I'll quote the whole statement on an appearance on It's Open with Ilana Glazer podcast. The full statement is this. There's a certain level of wealth and accumulation that is unearned, right? A certain level of wealth and accumulation that is unearned, right? You can't earn $1 billion. You just can't earn that, AOC said. She argued that accumulating $1 billion requires breaking rules or abusing labor laws rather than through personal merit alone. I have a few questions for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Hey there, Miss Cortez. Did Oprah Winfrey break the rules or abuse labor laws? Oprah is very much a billionaire. Her net worth is estimated at $3.2 billion according to Forbes and $4 billion according to Celebrity Net Worth. She also made history. She also made history as the first black female billionaire. Did she earn it? Or did she steal it, Miss AOC? What about Michael Jordan? He maintains the largest athlete fortune at approximately $3.5 billion, built through Jordan's brand royalties and his former ownership of the Charlotte Hornets. What about Tiger Woods? Did he earn it? Being one of the greatest golf players in the world, getting all kinds of deals, advertisement deals with Nike. There's roughly 3,400 billionaires in the world. Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, Elon Musk, of course, Jeff Bezos, and of course we can go on and on and on. And despite what you may or may not think about their personal lives or their personalities, they legitimately earn their wealth through providing goods and services that people want and use. That's the beauty of capitalism and the beauty of the free market. But my friends, there is an alarming trend happening that should not be ignored. Increasingly, from coast to coast, we've got economic morons in charge of major U.S. cities, from Mondami in New York City to Katie Wilson, the new mayor in Seattle. In Seattle, downtown Seattle's office vacancy rate has skyrocketed to 35%, one of the highest in the entire United States. Companies are fleeing in droves from Seattle. Amazon moved thousands of jobs out of Seattle. Starbucks is shifting major operations to Nashville. Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks, just bought a $44 million penthouse in Miami. But Howard Schultz announced his move to Florida the same day. Washington state legislators approved the millionaire's tax. These socialists, these economic morons, they keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So what does Seattle's socialist Mayor Kate Wilson say about the millionaire exodus? This is what she said. If they leave, so what? Bye. She literally waved and laughed when a reporter was asking about the economic devastation that's going to come to Seattle. If they leave, so what? Bye. They are economic morons. When you cause the companies and the people who create jobs to flee, you will bankrupt your economy. That's economics 101. But the socialists never, ever learn. And they just keep doing the same failed socialist policies over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's a sign of insanity. But in the framework of this broadcast, I'll call it economic depravity. Yesterday, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson just said yesterday, there are little Mondamis popping up all around the country, and they're openly avowing socialist Marxist ideology. This is something that we have never seen before in American history. This is about moving away from a constitutional republic to a communist utopian ideology, and that's a dangerous thing for the future of country. And folks, he's exactly right. And I want to tell you something. Between the Islamists and the democratic socialists, if we don't stop them from gaining any more power in America, we will find America in a completely depraved and dystopian existence that will be on full display in the years to come. But we have hope to carry on in Jesus Christ. I'll be back with more. Here's Caedmon's Call, Hope to Carry On. The fusion of heart, mind, and soul. This is Open Up the Doors with Andy White here on Faith FM. WEGB 90.7 and 93.3 in that big. WEGQ 91.7 in Quad. I just want to go through a real quickly through some broadcast memos because I want to get to some other stuff before this first hour is up. But having said that, the first hour of this broadcast re-airs today at 3 p.m. Thursday, and it will re-air 1 p.m. on Saturday as well. If you miss it, and if you miss it, then please go. You can find me on my YouTube channels, my Rumble channels. Just look up Andy White, open up the doors on either YouTube or Rumble, and please follow me there as well. Important note, this Sunday night at 6 o'clock at Church of the Harvest in Riverhead, we will be having a Prayer for America prayer gathering. As many of you should know, this Sunday, President Trump has called for a rededication of America back to God. What a perfect opportunity for the church to come together. And we will be hosting a prayer meeting, as I said, that night, this Sunday night, 572 Rayner Avenue in Riverhead, Prayer for America from 6 to 8. Please come on out and let's intercede and pray for our nation together as the body of Christ. All are invited, of course. I do plan on going to the phones in the second hour, which is just moments away. 631-725-2069, 631-725-2069, if you would like to call in the second hour after the news and be part of the broadcast. I got a lot more to get to. I'm not going to get to it all, but I want to say a few things right here. I got a whole stack of stuff here dealing with Turkey and how Turkey's becoming the new enablers of Hamas. If I get to that, I'll get to it. But I want to say something here before I get there. I need to state, and I want to state it and emphatically state it in no uncertain terms. But I want this to sink in. The atrocities committed by Hamas on October 7th, 2023. They were a harbinger. I say this soberly, seriously, but they were a harbinger and a foreshadow and a taste of what it will be like for Israel during the time of Jacob's trouble. And I take no pleasure in expressing that other than to say that this is what the scriptures show. This is what was told by both Daniel and Jeremiah and Jesus himself. And that is why you and I, we've got to share the gospel and preach the truth with everyone. But what does Paul say? To the Jew first, and then also the Gentile. We've got to share the gospel. We've got to preach the truth. We got to pray that people's eyes would be open to the light in the darkness that they're walking in. And the world's going to get darker and darker. But we, brothers and sisters, are called to be a light in the darkness, and we're called to stand firm in the truth. We're called to stand against all of the wiles of the evil one. Because they are, Satan and his Antichrist minions, they are planning, they are going to, there's going to be a hellish barrage, especially upon Israel in the days to come. The hordes of hell will be unleashed. The hordes of Magog will be unleashed when the time comes and Satan is cast out of heaven down to the earth with great wrath, as we read about in Revelation 12, knowing that his time is short. Brothers and sisters, those days are ahead. And even now, as I said, the spirit of Antichrist and the hordes of Magog are beginning to swarm about. Hamas operatives, I got a stack of stuff here. I won't get to read all of it here. But let me give you some of the highlights. Hamas operatives are being trained in Turkey to launch attacks against Israel, according to a report in the Jerusalem Post. Hamas operatives have been openly participating in combat training exercises at shooting clubs across Turkey. Hamas members, according to the report, have been training in civilian clothing to avoid suspicion, while learning firearms tactics and advanced combat techniques. More concerning are the reports that Hamas members have been enrolling in professional drone pilot courses and receiving official Turkish licenses to fly drones. Turkey has become a primary operational, logistical, and financial hub for Hamas's global terror infrastructure, especially since Iran has now been taken down a few pegs. I've been telling you folks about Turkey for 12 years now, folks. Turkey is Magog Central. Erdogan has openly embraced Hamas leaders. He has repeatedly refused to designate the group as a terrorist organization. He has characterized its members as resistance fighters and a liberation group, warriors fighting to protect Palestinian lands. By allowing Hamas members to develop drone capabilities on Turkish soil, Ankara is deliberately grooming terrorists for future wars against Israel. And as I so often have shared on this broadcast, for years, Turkish President Erdogan has been playing a sleazy double game, presenting himself to the West as a regional mediator, as a responsible NATO ally, while simultaneously transforming Turkey into a sanctuary for Hamas terrorists outside of the Gaza Strip. Step by step, day by day, the world is being prepared for all that the prophetic scriptures do say. I read a report just this morning that Israel received the world's most negative country perception rating in a new global poll conducted by some organization called HERE Data. Let me say that again. Israel has just received the most negative country perception in this poll. The results form part of the, quote, Democracy Perception Index 2026, which surveyed tens of thousands of respondents on international image and democratic perceptions. The report, listen to this, folks, the report placed Israel as a democratic free country. The poll placed Israel below countries including North Korea, Afghanistan, and Iran in terms of global public perception. That is delusional and deceptive, of course. Researchers said the study included responses from more than 46,000 participants, assessing country reputations alongside a broader democracy-focused survey covering 98 countries. I want to repeat something that I said in a broadcast a few weeks ago. God is sifting the nations, and he's sifting them through the sieve of Israel. If you missed that broadcast, I did it about, I think it was something like 3 weeks ago. The sifting of the nations. If you missed that broadcast, go back and listen to it. But this is the hand of God. And as we see this demonic depravity unfold before us, yeah, it can be overwhelming. Yeah, it can be frightening. Oh, Jesus said that men's hearts would fail them out of fear for the things that they see coming upon the earth. But he also said, I'm telling you these things beforehand, so that when they come to pass, you'll know that I have told you. He's telling us beforehand that we would prepare. As I've said for so many years, we need to prepare spiritually, morally, be grounded in the Word, be preaching the gospel, be the masculine of Daniel 11:33, the people who have an understanding about the things that are transpiring in this world. For we have the reasons, we have the answers, we have the solution, which is obviously Jesus Christ, the true Messiah, the Prince of Peace. And yes, even though Israel is in an unbelieving state right now, that will not be the case in the future. All of this, all of it, has been prophesied. And we are living in such exciting times. Despite the unfolding horrors, if you know the Word of God, you're excited. If you know the Word of God, you're not going to fret. You're not going to fear. No, you're going to get fired up. You're going to look up and say, Maranatha. Lord, I for the joy set before him, Jesus endured the cross. Yes, we know there's pain. Yes, we know there's suffering. But for the joy set before him, what was the joy? Knowing that after the pain, after the suffering, there was an eternal weight of glory. There was resurrection. And that's what we're looking for, brothers and sisters. I'm out of time for this first hour. I'm going to change gears in the second hour. Talk a little bit about Donald Trump's trip to China in the second hour, and take your phone calls as well. In the meantime, keep it right here on Faith FM and watch, stand fast in the faith, be brave, be strong, and let all that you do be done in love. Keep it right here on Faith FM, and I will be back after the news. God bless.